So you want to land a job in cybersecurity, but you look at the many areas of cybersecurity and you don't know where to begin with. I'm Dawnlight, a current student studying information security. In this presentation, I will show you how I got started, things I did to help me to get started with a career in cybersecurity. If you're new to InfoSec, welcome. I wanted to share a little story of my own, how I got into cybersecurity. Growing up, I was this kid who likes to poke around things and make use of things creatively. In middle school, I randomly browsed a video that talks about ethical hacking, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and I wanted to do that. So I browsed the internet, and people say that in order to hack, you need to learn low-level coding, like C programming. I learned how to code my first ever program, Hello World, in C. When the line "Hello World!" pops up on the command prompt, I feel like such an ethical hacker, and I feel like such a cool kid. And if you're thinking if the story is going towards the direction of some young genius hackers, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you be disappointed. So because of some life-changing events I had to drop, I had to take on some family responsibilities and had to drop learning ethical hacking. Fast forward to 3 years ago when I just started college, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and my family really wants me to pursue a career in law. But here's the thing. So how American law school works is that you can only earn your law degree after your bachelor's. So I picked to have my undergrad degree in business because I like people. I like talking to people. At the time, I really enjoyed my first business technology class. My professor mentioned that cybersecurity is trending, and in my major, we should check it out. So I checked out my school's cybersecurity club, and boom, this is the exact thing I wanted to do since middle school. I never knew that you could make a career out of being a hacker. I have found my home, and to be honest, I kind of regret not following through in middle school with my passion, and I'm not letting myself regret it again by dropping. As a result, I started learning more cybersecurity knowledge. I got my CompTIA Security Plus certification 2 summers ago. I also become more involved in the cybersecurity club in my university. I became an officer, and I built the University Women Cybersecurity chapter. Currently, I am a security advocate, and I go to a lot of conferences, and that helps shaping who I am and my professional career, which I will talk about later. Last year, I tried for the first time applying for cybersecurity internships. I found it really confusing because a lot of job descriptions looks like the following. An internship role that requires just a lot. In-depth knowledge about networking protocols, strong experiences in scripting, and certifications such as OSCP, CISSP, which are definitely not entry-level certs. In particular, CISSP requires a candidate to have at least 5 years of security working experiences, and yet this role is for an internship. There are many examples like this. Just getting into cybersecurity as a beginner, I definitely did not have this many experiences, but I managed to have 3 offers. So I don't want you to be scared away because of the job qualifications. Next, I wanted to talk about a plan I have for myself to land these offers. Step number 1 is to get involved with the community. My tip of advice is to get involved with the cybersecurity on Twitter and join Discords and go to conferences, because that's the way that you can get an understanding of which certifications I should pursue next, which conference is everyone else going to, and what skills should I learn. Step number 2 is to increase face-to-face interactions. Browsing Twitter is a good way to get information, but I like face-to-face because you can get a small chat with a friendly stranger while you're sitting next to each other. And also with face-to-face, it's more real to me because you're actually talking to a person. You can do this step by going to conferences, meetups, and hacker associations. Step number 3 is to apply and land the job. After we go to those conferences and meet people, it is showtime for us to apply, follow up, and land the job in cybersecurity. And next, I will explain in detail on things that I did for those 3 steps. So there are many ways that we can get involved with cybersecurity, including being active on Twitter. At the first conference I went to, everyone was going by their hacker, which is their Twitter handles, and almost everyone knows each other from Twitter. It is also a really good way to get to know the most recent vulnerabilities and cybersecurity professionals' insight into them, which helps in terms of interviews because they'll ask you questions according to the most recent vulnerabilities. I also liked playing capture the flag competitions. I played a couple of them, and capture the flag competitions, also known as CTFs, they're a Jeopardy-styled gamified way of learning. So what you do is you solve a challenge, you get a flag, you enter the flag, and you get points. Things with CTF competitions is that you can play it individually or you can play it as a group. It's a really good way to learn cybersecurity through going through a hands-on way of learning. I enjoy reading cybersecurity books because they give you a really in-depth knowledge on a particular topic. Also, studying certifications are a good way because certifications gives you security knowledge in the theoretical. Sometimes they give you a practical knowledge in depending on which certification you're looking for. One thing I wanted to note is that if you want to work in a large company, they use certifications to differentiate their candidates. So in their HR screening, resume screening bot, they'll look for specifically which certifications to differentiate between candidates to candidates. So if you have this certification, it gives you a leg up. Next one is connecting with cybersecurity professionals on LinkedIn. I love this community, and the professionals in this community are really, really, really helpful and so friendly. I would not hesitate to connect with them on LinkedIn and ask your questions away. I also listen to podcasts, usually when I'm driving long distance or I'm just driving in general. If I wanted to get my InfoSec news of the day, I just go ahead and listen to podcasts. They give me another perspective on what's the most recent vulnerabilities. Watching hands-on YouTube videos also really helped me because I get to see from another person's perspective on how they did it versus and how I should be doing. And if something goes wrong, I just Google the problem and boom, it tells me what to do and how I knew that I did it different from theirs. Next, I'll give you some examples on what I used for resources. Before I start with the resource slide, I just wanted to have a disclaimer that I don't have any affiliation with any of the recommended individuals or organizations except for GRIMMCon. Those are just examples or resources that I use and I have found helpful. I know I mentioned Twitter a lot, cybersecurity on Twitter, but what is it exactly, you may wonder? So cybersecurity on Twitter is not a specific person or specific set of people that you need to follow, but it's just that cybersecurity professionals are really active on Twitter. So you can follow anyone you think it's in your expertise. And let's just, by doing this, by following each other, let's drop your Twitter handle into the Discord chat and let's just follow each other and let's create this community. And GRIMMCon speakers are also a really good way to start following because we usually really like to give back to the community, and we're really happy and into helping each other in this community. I really like the Tribe of Hackers series in terms of books because the Tribe of Hackers series, they have 3 different books: Security Leaders, Red Team, and Blue Team. Red Team stands for the offensive side of cybersecurity, while Blue Team stands for the defensive side of cybersecurity. This book has a collection of cybersecurity professionals recommendations, advice in terms of if you are new to cybersecurity, what you should be aware of. So just begin with, I read that book and I found it tremendously helpful for me. In terms of certifications, CompTIA Security Plus gives you a really good foundation skills and theoretical knowledge on security that you need to know. So it kind of helped me pave the way, and when other people on Twitter are talking about, oh, this vulnerability is coming from all kinds of, they're using all kinds of lingos, and I can kind of sort of understand because of that, obtaining that certification. Networking is also really important in terms of cybersecurity, and I recommend Cisco CCNA. Having a networking foundation under your belt is tremendously useful. Podcasts. I really enjoy listening to Darknet Diaries because they go over like hacker stories in each series, and I really enjoy listening to them while I'm driving. Jack Reinsider is also a really good storyteller. Cyber Outlier Daily, I listen to it to get my InfoSec news of the day. So just to understanding more what's going on, what's happening in the security world in the day. And John Hammond, he does cybersecurity CTF walkthroughs, and I like watching him when I'm stuck at a CTF. Network Chuck does hands-on YouTube videos, hands-on security videos, and Black Hill Information Security does really good security educational videos. In terms of project, to break it in, I would recommend always do your home lab, because you can, number one, you can practice it on your own in a safe environment. Number two, you can also configure it on your own and becoming your own sysadmin, get your experience under the belt. For CTFs, there are 3 CTFs I really enjoy playing: CyberStar, Pico CTF, and National Cyber League. Those are really beginner-friendly CTFs, and those are a gamified way of learning. And for Pico CTF in particular, it's developed by Carnegie Mellon University, and I will soon be starting my master's in Carnegie Mellon University. So it'll be really cool for me to look from a developer perspective as opposed to a player perspective. And for blogs, for my readers, Nobai is really good. Nobai does really cool YouTube videos, and he writes a really cool blog on set of instructions on what we should, on what you can do in terms of hacking too. So as a student, I also got involved with my school's cybersecurity club, which introduced me to so many different technical knowledge. I learned about networking, setting a home lab with Kali Linux, Wi-Fi hacking, cryptography, web app pen testing, password cracking. I also teamed up with other students who are playing to play regular Jeopardy style CTFs and social engineering competitions, where we were selected to compete internationally and place top in OSINT, Open Source Intelligence. We had guest speakers from hiring companies to speak and hire us. I also helped building our community of university chapter of Women in Cybersecurity, where we created the Women in Cybersecurity group to be more like community focused, different from the technical cybersecurity club. We had female guest speakers, and it was really helpful for us to learn their security journey and what their advice is for future female cybersecurity professionals. We also played CTFs together. We hosted coffee chats, but mainly a sociable aspect for students interested in cybersecurity to get to know each other. Now our Women in Cybersecurity group has grown from 3 founding members to more than 30 students. And additionally, for each university, there's usually its own SOC and hiring for student workers. SOC stands for Security Operations Center, and they're responsible for monitoring and analyzing the university's security posture and incidents. Those positions normally don't require any experiences, and it's a good way just to get your foot in the door. Now, conferences are my favorite resources because the ability to make one-on-one connections. There are free, budget-friendly, and more expensive options. Some such as like local meetups from hacker associations, from where you can meet local cybersecurity professionals. Some conferences are free and educational, such as GRIMMCon. If you enjoy those ones and want to try out more options, security B-sides are my absolute favorite budget-friendly option. The first conference I went to was a local B-sides, and was such a warm community, and everybody seemed to know each other and welcome newcomers when I indicated that I was interested in joining. If money is not an issue for you, or if you have the choice to go to a more expensive conference, I would definitely recommend DEF CON, RSA, and Black Hat. DEF CON is one of the largest hacker conventions in the world and coolest in my opinion. I went to DEF CON 29 and it was an absolute blast for me. They have villages such as biohacking, car hacking, IoT villages, and where they have workshops and labs that allows you to hack into them legally. My favorite was the packet hacking village, where the famous wall of sheep is. So DEF CON has this unwritten rule that you want to secure your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi at a conference, because otherwise, if you get hacked via those, your name and password will go on the wall of sheep via clear text, and everybody will see it. And also, I wanted to share a good story from DEF CON. Special shout out to Elle. So I met Elle at B-Sides. We kept in touch and met up again at DEF CON. At the time, I went with my school to DEF CON. We had around 20 students. When we met up again, she introduced it to us to even more cybersecurity professionals in different expertise, all the way ranging from network security, DFIR, and threat intelligence to CISOs. And we started a discussion group for us students to ask them questions. So it was really cool for us because we started a mini con in the middle of the DEF CON, and we attracted other conference participants to join us slowly. In the end, we had about 50 people in our discussion group, and we all enjoyed the session a lot. Elle, if you're still watching, thanks for the introduction again. Black Hat, unfortunately, I have not been for myself, but I've heard many good things about it. There are more expensive options and are more like cybersecurity conferences for the managers. Next, we're going to talk about how to prepare for conferences. Usually for conferences, they will post a schedule online several weeks in advance. They typically have several tracks. Before I go to a conference, I usually go look up on the talks that I'm interested in going to and mark them down in my calendar on where the talk is, when is the talk, and who is talking. When a conference is soon approaching, I connect with the speakers on Twitter, and I usually say, hey, I saw you are talking at this conference. Really look forward to hearing your talks. So this kind of helps me to leave a good first impression with the speaker. So when I'm talking with them in person later, they already know who I am. And during the conference, I usually just go enjoy the conference experience and talk with the people sitting next to me to learn more about what they do. Making friends in this field, because cybersecurity is really small, and the friends that you make today may be your coworkers the next day. I would also connect with them on Twitter, LinkedIn, see what their interest areas are, and find commonalities, or ask about them, their areas of expertise, follow up with them, see what conference they're going to. Now, you have them in your network. Another point I wanted to stress is to leverage the brand that you have in conference for more connections. So for me, it was my university's name. When I go to a conference, I wear my university cybersecurity club officer polo because it gives me authenticity and helps me start with the conversations. When I went to DEF CON, I had other students recognize my polo and told me that we played CCTC together. And I also had recruiters coming up to me because of that. After we finish step 1 and 2, it is time for us to complete the last step: apply, interview, and land the job. Applying is a game, requires us to play strategically. And I made a plan for myself when I applied. I applied for 10 jobs a day. And in fact, the more you apply, the higher chance you will get an interview opportunity. But as I applied to many jobs, I kind of got lost. So I would go on Google and search, and the same jobs I applied for would show up again. So I decided to make an Excel sheet for myself to keep track of the jobs I applied for, contact I can follow up with, whether I heard back from them, if I got an interview, what's the interview date and time. It is now so much more efficient and organized. I also wanted to emphasize on the quality of applications. Having connections in the community, in the company you apply for, allows us to get a higher chance of getting an interview. That is why networking preparation is so important. The next piece of advice I wanted to give if you're a student is to not limit yourself to your school's career center connections. I used to only apply within my university's network, but I kept getting rejections. So I realized that I should probably broaden my horizon and start searching on Google, LinkedIn, and even Twitter. That's how I started to get interview emails. The next one is for my ladies. Beat the imposter syndrome. Women don't really apply for the job unless they fulfill the job requirements 100%, while men apply when they fulfill at 60%. So I want to encourage my ladies to go ahead and apply. Don't feel like you're not qualified, and don't let you reject yourself. The last and most important one is to stick to your plan and keep applying until you find a job that you're satisfied with. To prepare for interviews, it is so important for us to use our OSINT skills on the company's culture, interviewer information if you have them. OSINT stands for Open Source Intelligence, and overly getting prepared for the job interview and never hurts. This means overly OSINT your job. And you should also show your passion. From the CTFs that you played, projects that you've done, relative experiences that you have had, whether if you had work experiences or not. A job can teach you the things that you need to do, but it can't teach you passion. That's why hiring managers love to hire passionate people. And to follow up, I would also ask about the timeline, when you'll be hearing back, and how many interviews there will be, so that you can get an understanding of when we should follow up. Thank you notes. This is to leave an impression on the interviewer. The general rule of thumb is to send a thank you note as soon as possible. But for holidays or Fridays, interviewers are usually ready for the holidays or the weekend. So sending a note on Monday morning or the next work day would actually be good. It is all about making an impression. Lastly, I just wanted to share some additional resources. I don't have any affiliations with those individuals, but I found them super helpful in terms of job hunting. Jason Blanchard, he does content and community for Black Hills Information Security, and he has a YouTube video on how to hunt for jobs like a hacker, where he goes through, he OSINTs the job, and he teaches you how to do that. He also does Twitch live stream on cybersecurity job hunting. So I would definitely give him a check him out if you're looking for more of those information. Marcus J. Curry, he is one of the authors for Tribe of Hackers series, and he really supports the community and supporting people who are applying for jobs. He has posts about job threads. He asks hiring companies if they're hiring for cybersecurity people, and if so, ask them to reply with the cybersecurity job links and information, also indicating if the job is remote or entry level, and do they have any internship positions. Now, whether you're new to cybersecurity or if you're experienced, you belong here. You belong to cybersecurity. We're so happy you're here. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Yaga, my mentor, for your support. This is my first conference talk, And thank you everyone for listening to my talk. Now, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to talk. I have posted my Twitter and email in the presentation, and thank you so much again for listening.